you've got to do your research. It's a big area. It's not like some of the smaller towns. It is a very big area. So you've got to really pay attention to what's going on.
Hi, I'm Vicki Grodner, and welcome to the College Real Estate Coach. I am thrilled to have our friend and fellow Keller Williams agent, Michael Hickman, join us today. We love doing these podcast segments on different college towns, and Michael is in a city that is rich with college communities. He is in our Atlanta market. And so, Michael, first of all, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
And then I'd love for you to talk, because again, I grew up in Atlanta, so I know you guys are chock full of universities and colleges there in Atlanta. So first of all, can you kind of tell us just a beginning list of all the colleges there in Atlanta, and then if there's some in particular that you focus on?
Sure. Well, so there's obviously Georgia Institute of Technology.
You're kind of a fan of that crowd, right?
Yeah. One of the few schools that doesn't have the word university in the title.
That is true.
True. The academies don't have it either, so that was a little bit interesting.
There you go.
But, there's Emory University, which is a great medical, we did a lot of research at Emory University, we as in Georgia Tech. There's Georgia State University, which was actually started sort of as the Georgia Tech Night School or School of Commerce or Lady School. And now it's become a huge program.
Fun fact, that's where I started my college career, was at Georgia State. I was there for 2 years before coming to Alabama, so yes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And it was not nearly the size it is now, to your point.
Yeah, it's huge now.
It's become a behemoth, yes.
And then, there's Spelman, which is phenomenal. Morehouse College, which is also phenomenal. Clark Atlanta University. There is Savannah College of Art and Design has a campus. And there's probably more that I don't know about, but it's a very large college town.
For sure. And what you're talking about is really things that are right there in Atlanta, because you're right, in the suburbs there are some others that have gotten quite sizable, like Kennesaw.
If you stretch out, there's Kennesaw State University, which used to be part of Southern Polytechnical University. They merged together. And there's others. There's DeKalb College, there's Gwinnett College, there's Lanier. So there's some associate degree type schools as well all over. So there's a lot here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you've talked about, just kind of listed the colleges for us. Talk to me about the differences amongst the colleges and universities in the Atlanta market in terms of their real estate needs.
It's very different because there are places where you have Old Town Atlanta where some single family homes fit. Georgia State University is somewhat of a commuter college, so there are people who commute into campus and don't live close to campus at all. Georgia Tech is not that way. It's not very parking friendly. So if there's a lot of dorms and you're required to be, from what I understand, a freshman, you have to stay in a dorm for that first year.
Okay.
And then depending on what major you're in, like the business school is located sort of almost off campus across the 75-85 connector. So a lot of kids that are in the Keller School of Business will live in an apartment or a condo building right close to that part of the campus. So that's different. There's an area called Home Park, which is an old part of Atlanta. They have a fair number of investors there who have bought properties. They really don't sell them because they rent them out year after year to students and their families. And then there are a few mid-rise buildings that people own condos in. And the difference there is interesting because some places, like I have a condo. I live in Cumming, Georgia, which is 30 minutes north of Atlanta, but I have a condo in Atlanta as well. And our building doesn't allow short-term rentals at all. So a little bit different.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that in a few minutes. So since you brought that up, talk to me about if you have investors who want to, and then we'll come back to parents and alumni, but if you have investors that want to come into the Atlanta market, how do you advise them if they're trying to kind of tap into that college or those college communities?
That's tough because, especially with Georgia Tech, which is where my main expertise is,
Sure.
there are just not a lot of properties that come up available.
Mm-hmm.
And for investors, properties that come up at an investor price are they just doesn't happen very often.
Mm-hmm.
And there's very few foreclosures happening, like in the subprime mortgage world. This was when I bought a lot of properties.
Yes.
Um, 2007 to 2011. That's just not happening. There's not that many properties on the courthouse steps anymore. So that's another issue that we see. So for me, if I'm advising someone as an investor for college students, then I tell them to get involved with the building, get to know the building manager, the condo management people, and try to find stuff that doesn't hit the market. And of
Right.
course, that just takes a lot of legwork to try to get that done.
For sure.
And then some of the places have had large assessments. Sometimes that will drive some people out. There is a building not too far away from Georgia Tech that has a terrible reputation for VRBO stuff, a lot of parties, a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an athlete, a professional NFL player, who we looked at buying a number of units in there, 19, 20 units in there. And then after some news media stuff happened, we thought, we're just going to stay away from this. And because we couldn't buy enough units to turn the building around by ourselves.
Right.
And so
Right.
we're going to watch it and wait. And at some point, maybe we'll assemble sort of a group of people and try to buy three-quarters of the building if it's possible. And then we can really flip it over. But you got to have a significant amount of the properties to make it work.
For sure. Yes. And on the like short-term rental stuff, are you seeing that most buildings that are near Georgia Tech are allow that sort of activity, or is it really pretty limited? Because I know like some cities limit what you can do in terms of short-term rental, but then also some buildings. Because I know I've thought about buying in Atlanta, and the things I've looked at often, were not do not allow that sort of activity.
A
So,
lot of the condo buildings have shut that down or
mm-hmm,
limited it greatly, including my condo building.
mm-hmm,
Because the residents just don't want this, nomadic type people coming in and out all the time.
right,
My building has security, it has a secured parking garage.
mm-hmm.
So opening that up, and for me personally, as an owner there, I don't want that going on.
For sure,
And
for
yet
sure.
I have friends and family who stay at our condo all the time, whether flying out or flying in or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't charge them anything.
Right,
So we don't
right,
we don't actually make any money on it. It's sort of a courtesy to friends.
right.
And family reunion is in Atlanta this
I
year, so
know.
I'll be staying close to the World Congress Center
That's
myself,
great.
and
That's
we'll
great.
probably have a couple of little after hours parties there as
Oh,
well.
fun. Oh,
So yeah,
great.
we'll get into that. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of apartments that have been built, mid-rise buildings, specifically for rentals. And so
Gotcha.
a lot of the parents, they will go that direction at some point. And there's everything from, you know, kitchen with a two person place to all the way places that are more like 4 and 6
Mm-hmm.
kids will all be in the same place and share a kid in a couple of bathrooms.
Gotcha.
So there's that
Gotcha.
going on. Yeah.
Are there still, have most of the old bungalows around Georgia Tech been torn down? I remember staying in a pretty ratty looking little cottage when I was at Georgia State, and it was
There's
near the
still,
Tech campus.
yep. The ones in Old Home Park I told you about. In Georgia
Okay.
State, there's the Old Fourth Ward area. But yeah, some of those are pretty ratty, but those are being taken over by investors who are raising them or adding on
Right.
to them and making $1 million properties out of them.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So that's an opportunity then.
Yep.
So now, do parents and alumni look at properties differently when they're investing in the
Yeah.
Atlanta market?
I mean, parents are only going to have the property for 4 or 5 years unless they
Mm-hmm.
decide to really become a long-term investor there.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, the Atlanta market, if you happen to find a property that you want to buy and your child stays there 4 or 5 years, or like me, it took me 5 years to graduate from college because I worked through. Plus, there may have been some there may have been some classes I took over at Georgia Tech.
I understand. I understand. My husband
Yeah,
always says my son was at Alabama for 5 years because he wanted to get that extra football season in. So,
yeah, there you
yes.
go. That's what the same with us. Yeah, I'm going to
Yep.
use that excuse from now on.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
So for those people, they're fairly assured of being able to make money after their child gets out of that they want to sell,
Hmm.
because Atlanta traditionally has really had it just goes up and up and up. And
For
the
sure.
mayor, Andre Dickens, is a friend. He's a Georgia Tech graduate. And so he's doing some really nice things with the city, like repaving a lot of the streets that needed work.
Nice.
So he's really doing some nice stuff. He's working on some of the homeless situation and some of the crime situations that are there. And so Atlanta's getting better as far as some of the places it gets dinged about. And then one of the reasons I bought my condo at the particular location is because there's a project called The Stitch,
Okay.
which basically is going to make a tunnel out of 75, 85 and include parking area, and it's going to increase the walkability of the city, which is one of the
Oh,
big things we have
nice.
a problem with.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that's well, the first part of it's $150 million. It's $1 billion project.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
And my condo looks down on the park that will be part of this project, which is the reason I stole my condo in 2017, because I had heads about this project and then there was enough money behind it to make it go. So,
Nice.
my little condo in about 10 years or 15 years is going to have a lot higher value.
I love that. I love it. Well, and that's what they always tell us in real estate, right? Is like when you see a property, obviously think about whether you're going to list it or whether you have a buyer for it, but also is
Sure.
it something that you potentially are interested in? So,
Yeah, and we bought it on purpose because of traffic
yeah.
in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And my bride's commute down to Georgia Tech. She's the CFO of the Georgia Tech Alumni
Oh,
Association.
wow.
And so sometimes that hour and a half commute is no fun. So we can cut
Right.
it down to 10 minutes,
For sure.
um, which has opened up my business in town Atlanta, because I now have clients that are working. I have another client that we're buying some investment properties and condos, but not close to Georgia Tech, really. I mean, it's close, but not commute wise. It's not close, and so we're turning around a building together. So that's
I
gonna be
love
fun.
that. That's great.
Yep,
Do you have a lot of investors? I'm going to think I already probably know the answer, but like in Tuscaloosa, we've been named the number one college town to invest in and, the number two college town to invest in terms of short-term rental. Do you have a lot of investors coming into Atlanta and investing specifically for the colleges and universities who have no connection to Atlanta whatsoever?
not really. No, I don't
Really?
see that.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
just haven't seen it.
Okay, because we actually do here. I have people I've sold multiple properties to. They've never even been here. So,
Oh, Knoxville is the same way. I mean, you've
yeah,
got people that are buying brand new, new construction homes for that exact reason, and they're from all over the place because
right,
Knoxville is also one of those college towns that's the destination spot. It's a cool place.
right, right. So tell me some fun. So I talked to an agent from Auburn, and I know that they do something that I consider crazy, which is they roll their tree with toilet paper whenever they win a football game or a sporting event, which is like I don't get it. So tell me something fun or interesting about the Georgia Tech community, something that we wouldn't know,
Okay, I'll
traditions
tell you
or
some historical things that are interesting. Georgia Tech has the oldest on-campus stadium in Division One football,
really.
and my grandfather helped build it in 1916.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah.
great.
So that's cool.
Yeah. And you guys
Also,
actually have a good football team this year.
we have a pretty
Congratulations.
good football team. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we historically have had a great football team. As a
Yes.
matter of fact, it's funny. We have more SEC championships than a lot of SEC schools. And I'm not talking about the new ones like Oklahoma and Texas. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the Ole Misses and the Mississippi States of the world.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So
That's
it's
great.
funny when I have to educate some of those folks and go, yeah, y'all are great, but we actually have more championships and we left in 1966. So that's funny. But so
That's
John
great.
Heisman was our coach. So the Heisman Trophy is named after
Really?
our old coach.
Oh, that's interesting.
The Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year award is named after an old coach of ours,
Yes,
Bobby
that name I
Dodd.
know.
And the Frank Broyles Assistant Coach of the Year award is named after, of course, Frank Broyles was the coach in the 80 at Arkansas, but he was a Georgia Tech guy.
I love
And so
that.
we have three trophies, major trophies that are named after people with Georgia Tech connections, which is fun. And a lot of people don't know about that.
Sure.
But and of course, the College Football Hall of Fame is in Atlanta, which is nice. They finally moved it from the north and put it in a place where it was a little bit nicer, so that's fun. Um, and then probably the number one thing that we do that people recognize is our Ford 1930 Model A Sport Coupe
Yes,
with the rumble seat that leads the team out onto the field every game.
love that.
And so that's fun that we keep the old girl running, and which is sometimes challenging in cold weather.
I would
Um,
think so, yes.
and it's the cool thing about that, it is actually maintained by the Ramblin' Wreck Club, which is a student organization that raises money and maintains the car. And my
Really?
wife is actually certified to drive the Ramblin' Wreck because she
I
was a
love
member
that.
of the Ramblin' Wreck Club.
Oh, that's
Yeah. So
fantastic. That is so cool.
and our
That's great.
mascot Buzz has won the national, mascot award several times. Yeah,
Okay, very good. Very good. All fun facts and good things to know.
yeah.
So again, I know you really focus kind of on that Georgia Tech community and that sort of thing. But if people are thinking about Emory, I guess like most of that activity, people are buying maybe in the Decatur area. Is that right?
They are buying in the Decatur area, and there are some homes available to purchase around there. They're going to be 600,000 up, and so they're fairly expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some properties over in Decatur that are available, and then there's also some apartment complexes over there that are available. And
Mm-hmm.
Emory is obviously a very good school. There's a lot of research between Georgia Tech and Emory, between the biomedical engineering people and the medical people at Emory. There's billions of dollars of research going on
Mm-hmm.
between the two schools.
Mm-hmm. And so, and both of those schools are drawing kids from all over the country. So, again, from that perspective, you're seeing people coming into Atlanta if they have some relationship to those universities, I guess.
Yes, and
I
there's a
guess.
lot of kids who go to Georgia Tech, get their undergraduate degree, and then go to Emory for their medical degree.
Oh, right.
There's lots of interesting things that go back and forth between those two. You've got people who go into Georgia Tech and get a degree in mechanical engineering. They go get a degree, a medical type degree, and end up in medical equipment sales or design. That they do very hybrid type stuff.
I love that. That's great. That's great. And then Georgia State, as you said, has been a commuter school, although again, it's starting to pull more kids in from out of state as well. So now, are there some communities that are kind of right past Georgia Tech and right past Georgia State that are up and coming? I feel like there are. Is that where the Fourth Ward is, or
No,
Cabbagetown?
Kennesaw State up in the Marietta, Kennesaw area,
Okay,
which used to be, well, Kennesaw State University merged with Southern Polytechnical,
right.
which is Southern Poly was also an offshoot of Georgia Tech, more towards the practical side of the engineering technician type world than the theoretical type stuff that Georgia Tech
Mm-hmm.
teaches.
Mm-hmm.
And so they merged together, and Kennesaw State's a humongous school, has a great football program, which Georgia Tech sort of helped with in the very beginning. Coach
Yes.
Bohannon was a Georgia Tech coach and went up there. And I don't know who the new coach is now, but he's doing well. And they have a big program. So up there, it's the Owls. So that's Hootie Who is their name.
That's great. That's great. So, what else should people know about the Atlanta market? What else would be helpful if somebody wanted to decide to come and invest in Atlanta, whether they have a relationship to the universities or don't?
Well, Metro Atlanta is a very large geographical region. If you look from Hampton, Georgia, up into Dahlonega, you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about a 60 or 70-mile stretch.
Yes.
So the investors I work with, I steer them towards areas where I know things are up and coming. where we have a great commercial division inside my office. Matter of fact, I have the number one commercial agent in Keller Williams is in
Oh,
our
wow.
office.
Oh,
So
wow.
we get information that a lot of people don't get
Mm-hmm.
early. So we're able to go back and look and see that Amazon is expanding here, or Microsoft, or
Mm-hmm.
whoever, Norfolk Southern. I laugh because I help with some of the recruiting at Georgia Tech, and sometimes we have a kid at our baseball stadium standing on the Teixeira Terrace, which is named after Mark Teixeira because
Okay.
he paid for it.
Yes,
And
yes.
we stand there and I say, look at the Fortune 500 companies that you can see from here, whether it's Google, Norfolk Southern, AT&T, whatever. And I say those are all internship opportunities. NCR is right there.
Yes.
So when I have my investors, I try to find the places that are up and coming
Mm-hmm.
and say, step into here. Right now, my spot is West Midtown. My son owns a house there. I have a former Jaguars player that bought a house there.
Okay.
The quarry where Stranger Things was filmed, at least
Yeah.
part of it, is in that area. That's a
Oh,
new
really?
Atlanta park. Yep. And so that area, because of that investment, is up and growing. And so I look at some of the actually inside the perimeter properties, or
Yes.
ITP. It's ITP and OTP, inside the perimeter and outside the perimeter.
Right.
And so a lot of investment was on outside the perimeter. Now that's starting to happen inside the perimeter a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then traffic in a big city like ours is a problem. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
have two major interstates that bifurcate the city.
No doubt.
So not the best. And 285 is okay, but
Sure.
it's interesting. So sometimes I have to tell people that they say, well, I want to be 20 minutes away from my office.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, then 6 miles away is as far as you can go distance wise.
Right.
And so
Right.
you have to look at that part of it as well. But the
Mm-hmm.
cool part about it is Atlanta, it's just a little ways before you're in the North Georgia mountains. It's just a little ways before you're in Lake Lanier, where you've got beautiful properties on the lake up there. Um, and then if you go south, you've got 30A down on the coast, on the Panhandle. You can go down the Savannah side and go on the Atlantic side, and you're only 4 or 5 hours away from that. So it's a really great location, and it's a great business location. There's a big development called the Inland Port that's going on in Hall County, which is northeast of Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a big shipping hub that's basically like a dry port is what it's going to be. And then,
Interesting.
of course, the data center expansion is also a big deal. Next to
Right.
my condo is the most expensive dollar per square inch property in Georgia, and it is a data center.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Fascinating. Fascinating. Okay, well, this has been so enlightening. I'm ready for you to show me some things in West Midtown, so I'll let you know when I'm
let's
going to head
go.
that way. Anything else that you think we should close with when we think again about Atlanta and college and universities?
No, this time you got to do your research. It's a big area, people. It's not
It
like some
is.
of the smaller towns. It is a very big area, and you
It
really
is.
have to understand what the traffic patterns are and where you want to be and where you want to invest. And
Mm-hmm.
so you've got to really pay attention to what's going on.
No doubt. Well, Michael, thank you. This was great as always, and I'll see you at Family Reunion in February.
Thanks, Vicki. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye bye. I'm Vicki Grodner, the College Real Estate Coach.